two, whoo!
Welcome to Authenticity Lab, a podcast where we celebrate reconnecting with our authentic selves. I'm Dr. Kelsey Miles. I'm a musician, a songwriter, and also a chemistry professor. Each week, I share a story, and I also break it down into a small yet powerful life experiment that will inspire you to live boldly, lead with curiosity, and embrace your most authentic self. Are you ready? Great, let's get started. In today's episode, we are talking about letting go of control. It is, I think, the perfect topic for the first episode of 2025. In today's episode, we are talking about letting go of control. This is especially difficult in times of uncertainty. As I'm talking, my cat Encore just jumped down from my chair and thumped to the floor. Talk about uncertainty. I'm going to share a story about how when I finally exhaled and let go of control, I had a really surprising turn of events. The thing that I was really trying to do happened in a creative way that I know I couldn't have accessed had I not let go of control first. I think this topic is perfect to bring up in the start of 2025. I can still hear my cat Encore just running around. And we're going to let it fly this episode because this is what we're talking about. Not being in control and having things that are uncertain around. This is what we need to do to really jumpstart our year, our 2025 year. What can we let go of? She's literally going nuts. It's hilarious. At the end of the episode, I'll invite you on a life experiment that will help you practice letting go of control in a small yet meaningful way. So stick around to the end of the episode. Have you ever had a situation in your life where you were holding your breath, trying to control something that was kind of out of reach, trying to control something that you had a lot of anxiety around or fear around, and it didn't feel like you had any control over? Well, this was me in December. So in December last month of 2024, I went back to Wisconsin to record my next album. Now, that is not the thing that I was worried about. It was so much fun. I had an incredible time with my band in Wisconsin. We recorded some amazing new songs, and they really helped me bring my artistic vision to life. It was beautiful. But throughout that time in December, I can't help but recognize it was there the entire time. I call them little gremlins. This little gremlin of anxiety. I was holding my breath about this competition coming up. I'm currently in Memphis, Tennessee, for this competition, the International Blues Challenge. I won in Kansas City. And so I am Kansas City's representative in the solo duo category at the IBC, the International Blues Challenge. Now, at this competition, they are expecting you to bring blues music. And if you are familiar with my music, I have blues elements in a lot of them. I'm a harmonica player as well. And I have some straight blues tunes, like very pure blues tunes. And when I won this and knew I was going to represent Kansas City, I had in the back of my head, I'm going to write new blues songs. And I'll make sure that my show didn't just have original music with influences of blues. This competition is really asking for straight up, pure blues music, which I don't have tons of, right? All of my music has some blues elements. I have a few pure blues songs, but not enough that I could really put together a great show. And so when I was recording in December, I had in the back of my head that I would be able to write and record a few new blues songs for this next album. And so couple of the weekends, I brought tunes to the band. One was like a blues shuffle, and we tried it out. And that song in particular, this is actually hilarious. So we start trying to record it, and it's not sitting right. And when you're creating music, especially when I create music, I always am seeking the emotion to come out of the song. Like, what emotion am I trying to share with someone who's listening? And the song wasn't sitting very well in this format, this genre of a blues shuffle. So I started playing around with it on my guitar. We all had our headphones on. We had just taken a take. And I played around with it. And then I started to play reggae with my acoustic. And then I started singing. And I was like, hold up, you guys. This is a reggae tune. Sorry. I tried to make it a blues shuffle. You know, what's funny about me telling you that is I had that thread of anxiety around, if you can hear this, my cats are chasing each other, Rhodey and Encore. And because this episode is about letting go, I'm not editing that out. It's just going to happen. And it's pushing my perfectionism to go away right now. So you might hear some thumps and toys, and there they go again. So talking about this reggae song that I tried so hard to make it this blues shuffle. I was really leading with that part of me that was holding its breath, knowing that I had to write these pure blues songs. And so we end up recording this reggae tune, and we keep going. We had one more weekend left, and I tried to bring another blues song, and I wasn't really feeling it that much. And instead, we recorded a really cool funk tune. We recorded I think it's one of the best songs I've written. It's a piano-driven soul song. It's beautiful, has a great choir sound with it. So proud of the work that we did. After the end of our studio sessions, I had a few more days left before I had to travel back to Kansas City, and then right away I traveled to Memphis, which is where I'm at now. And I had a few days before I had to leave, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was telling her about how stressed I was about this competition because I didn't write these blues tunes, that I really needed. And she talked to me about how reminded me. We had a really great conversation, and she reminded me, and it's quite funny because my podcast is about accepting everything that makes you authentic. And she said, Kelsey, just go there and play your music. It was really eye-opening. It was a really great turning point when I had that conversation. And so later that night, I decided I had some time. I went ahead and I embraced that idea of just letting go. I'm just going to play my songs. I'm just going to go to the competition and play the songs that made me win in Kansas City. And so I sat down on my couch and I started to play one of the songs that I wrote. It was a blues tune, and I knew I would bring that one to the competition. And we recorded that this December. And after I finished working on that one, seeing how it would sound acoustically, without the full band, I started to move on to think about, well, what else would I really want to bring to this competition? And I started messing around with one of the songs I wrote that was a funk tune. And so it's called Look in the Mirror. And that'll go on my next album called Aware. I started to play around with it on guitar, and I realized that I could actually turn it into a blues song. It had the same progression as a blues progression, which is 1-4-5. I started playing around with it, and I rewrote it a little bit to be more of a straight blues tune. And so I'm sitting there on my couch, and I finish the song, and I remember I just sat back, and I was like, holy cow, this whole month, I was stressed about I was trying to fit things in. And like I talked about in the beginning of the episode, like white knuckling my way through, trying to fit it into just write a blues song. And instead, I just wrote music. We recorded things in the studio that I felt like the song needed, to exist as a certain genre. And as I'm sitting there with my acoustic guitar, I had let go of the control of needing to write a blues tune. And there was my blues song. There it was, right in front of me. The song I'd already written. The song I already had lyrics written, chord progressions, like everything was written for it. I just had to make small tweaks. And I couldn't see that when I was holding my breath, worried about this competition. This topic of exhaling is exactly what my song called Exhale, which is on my I Am album. It's the 4th track on the album, is about. Let me read you a bit from my I Am lyrical journey that I wrote about this song. So at the beginning of each chapter, which has every song, I share a story. So I'll read part of this. I've often been in situations where I feel like I'm holding my breath and I don't know what to do or where to go. It's unclear what is the next right step. I have, and you might relate to this, in many situations, bulldozed my way through a decision and tried to force something. Have you ever tried to force something to happen? Geez, I've done that a lot. That happens when I lose my patience and I can no longer stand waiting. I convince myself that forcing something is the right next step. And in parentheses, I write, while I ignore my intuition. You see, often when we push through and we force something to happen, we're trying to get control. We often are ignoring our intuition because we don't have the capacity to also hear that when we're so driven to, try and gain control over something. Let me read the first lyrics of the song and then I'll play a snippet of this song. Do I hold on or let it go? How am I supposed to know? That's why I'm waiting until I can move on.
Do I hold on or let it go? How am I supposed to know? That's why I'm waiting until I can move.
These words in this song are exactly what this story is about. The idea of being that in-between zone of not knowing quite what to do, but refusing to let go of control. And the most beautiful part of this story is that when I let go of control, a result that I did not expect was that I sat down on my couch and I was able to figure out that I already had the blues songs written. I had the songs written. And I found a new creative avenue to get to the same result. I would not have heard that creative spark had I still been holding my breath. And I'm so grateful for that conversation I had with my friend who helped me decide, why don't you just feel more at ease about this whole thing and just decide to do yourself? Just do you at this competition. And when I decided to let go like that, that gave me an opening that lessened the amount of energy I was spending on my anxiety about not having blues songs. And it gave me energy so I could actually allow my intuition to come up with a creative idea. By letting go, things became more free. I became more in flow. And the answer came. The answer came to me. I realized that letting go had nothing to do with giving up. It was about trusting myself to know that it was going to be okay and that I'd figure it out. And what's funny is that when you hold your breath and you grab on tightly, you actually suffocate the very creativity and clarity that you really need to take the next step. With this story, what I'd like to do is break down this story using the scientific method. You guys know that every episode I like to bring in the scientific method because this helps us get a framework for the story. And hopefully, as I walk through this framework, you can start to see ways in which you can use this in your own life. Now, at the very end of the episode, I promise I will give you a life experiment and challenge you to do it yourself. Oh my. Miss Encore just jumped right in again. So the first step of the scientific method is to ask a question. And when I talked to my friend, my question was, look, I've got this competition. I'm really anxious about it. I don't have the blues songs that I really need. I'm stressed out. It's not happening. The blues songs didn't get written this December. It didn't feel like it. Miss Encore's joining us again. And I just asked the question of how can I find some relief from this stressful situation? And so the hypothesis was if I were to just consider showing up with my tunes, my songs, as fully as myself, these are blues infused songs, just show up with what you have. Maybe I'll find some immediate relief right now. And that could be a good alternative to stressing myself out. So that's step number 2, which is to form a hypothesis. And step number 3, which is to run the experiment. I did. I let it go. On the conversation I had with her, I let it go. And I just decided, you're right. This would be me being very authentic, me showing up with my songs that I love, and they are blues infused. I can do this. This is what I'm going to do. I ran the experiment in my head. It was it was an experiment in my head. The experiment was to let go of that anxiety of holding my breath about not having blues songs. And so I did. I ran the experiment. I let go of that requirement I had, trying to gain control over it. And so this brings us to step number 4, which is to make an observation and collect the data. And so I sat down on my couch with my guitar, and the data I was collecting as I look back was I was relieved. I was not stressed out. I was feeling much better. I was feeling more confident in myself because I was just going to go with the flow a bit. And I let go of needing to be in control of that situation. And that brings us to step number 5, which is to analyze the data. Now, as I analyzed the data, what was really cool is that not only did I get relief, but I had this opening of creativity that came out of me. I saw a path to a blues song from a funk tune that I wrote. I also saw a path to a blues song from a piano-driven soul song that I wrote. And that opening didn't exist pre-experiment. The experiment gave me relief, and then it also gave me, it stopped me from suffocating my creativity as much. I didn't expect that. I did not expect that from this experiment. I did not have the plan when I wrote the funk tune that it would turn into a blues song. And I don't think I would have seen that connection had I not let go of being in control. And that brings us to step 6 of the scientific method, which is to draw your conclusion and share your results. My conclusion about all of this, about letting go of control, is really that letting go has nothing to do with giving up. It's a very different feeling. When you give up, you are actually moving away from your authentic self. I didn't give up in this case. I thought to myself, and in this conversation I had with my friend, we decided this was going to be the closest step towards feeling most like myself. That step of letting go of that requirement of I needed to write these blues songs and I have to do them right now. And I just thought, well, I didn't. And this is where I'm at. And this is what showing up and doing my best looks like. By letting go, I didn't give up. Instead, I was acting from my most authentic self, which opened up this creativity in a way that couldn't happen when I was still holding my breath and grasping on to this thing I couldn't control. Letting go not only reduced my stress, big time. I felt way better after that conversation, but it helped me realize that my songs were enough. The songs I had already written all of December were enough. I had the lyrics, I had the chord progressions. I just couldn't see it when I was holding my breath. All right, now it's your turn for your life experiment for this week. This week, I want you to take some time and reflect, or you can journal about this. I want you to think about a situation in your life right now that feels a little uncertain. And I want you to write them down. You can list them. You don't have to go into much detail, but things that feel uncertain. We're actually going to follow day 30 and day 31 of my I Am Lyrical journey. So if you're following along in this journal, or if you'd like to get your copy, you can go to kelseymiles.com/100 days. That's 100 DAYS. And you can get a copy of the journal there. And so on day 30, I invite you to journal about things that feel uncertain in your life. Be specific about it, and you can write everything that you feel uncertain about. And then once you have this list of things that feel uncertain in your life, you're going to write down what is in your control and what is out of your control around that specific uncertain part of your life. This is actually coming from day 31's journal prompt. And so I write, yesterday you wrote about things in your life that felt uncertain. Choose one or a few to write about today. And I ask the question, in this uncertain situation, what is out of your control? What is in your control? Okay. Again, if you're interested in this journal, make sure you go to my website, kelseymiles.com/100 days. Okay, so now you've listed out what's uncertain in your life, chosen one or two of them, and you've written out or reflected on. You're welcome to do these experiments in your head as well if you're not a journaler. And I want you to write out what is, or think about what is in your control and what is out of your control. This is where we're going to find our question. The thing that is out of your control around that uncertain situation, that, my friend, is your question for your scientific method for your life experiment this week. The thing that's out of your control, I want you to ask the question, what would it feel like if I let go of being in control of this? Sounds really simple. It's simple and not easy. I swear I say that statement to my chemistry students all the time. When I'm lecturing, I always tell them it's simple, but not easy. And that's also what life is too. So you found the thing that felt uncertain, you recognize what, and you become aware of what is out of your control. And I want you to ask the question, what would it feel like if I let go of being in control of that? The second step of the scientific method is to form a hypothesis. Maybe your hypothesis is that you will feel relief, much like I did. You might also think of other creative possible outcomes of your experiment. Get creative here. There's no limit to your hypothesis. What I love about developing hypotheses is I like to think about the absolute best case scenario and get kind of crazy with it. Like if I let go of control, all of a sudden everything falls into place and this happens and this happens and this happens. If you want to be aware of the possible risks of letting go of control, you can also think about the worst thing that could happen. In a way, you're giving yourself some logic to help you actually run the experiment, which is step 3, which is to then release. Let go of control. This is more of a mindset shift. This isn't something you're actually doing to let go of control. You're just deciding that you no longer need to hold your breath and feel anxiety around something that you don't have control over. Then step number 4, you're going to make an observation and see if your hypothesis was correct. Step number 5, you're going to analyze your data. I'm really curious about what happens for your experiment when you let go of control. In step number 6, we draw conclusions and share our results. The sharing of the results is really important. You can do that with yourself or a friend, or if you're interested, go to kelseymiles.com/thelab, THELAB. I've got a forum on there that you can share your experiment and see what others are doing as well. What I love about the idea of drawing conclusions is this really wraps up our experiment in an intentional way. Something that you can take away from, like you're extracting the most you can possibly learn from something in your life. And that will automatically be applied to the next experiment you run without you having to consciously think about it. When you choose to spend the time to really think about What happened? How did I feel? Where did it go? What did I gain? What did I learn? What did I, when you really think about it that way, what happens is you insert all of that information into your brain. So the next time you take a step to run an experiment, you have that in the background. You have this extra confidence you didn't have before. That's what we're doing with that last step of really drawing a conclusion and sharing your results. It really gives you this foundation every time you run an experiment, because you're like, oh yeah, I did that thing and it was hard and this is what I got from it. And so that's why I really push you to share your results, even if it's with a friend, even if it's with yourself and you just journal about it a bit, or you just sit back one night and you go, I did that thing that scared me. Encore. This encore just jumped from the back of the chair, and when you did the thing that scared yourself and you did it, right? When you reflect like that, you really solidify everything you just learned. I'm so excited about what you're going to find out from this week's life experiment. If you enjoyed this podcast, if this is adding value to you, I would absolutely love if you could share this with someone else in your life who might also find value in this. This podcast is really new, and it would mean the world to me if you shared it with other people as well, so we can start to grow this community of people that are celebrating that connection with our authentic selves. I really find myself loving this feeling of being so connected with myself, this foundation I've built through all the songs that I've written, that I just want everyone. I want everyone to feel this way. I want everyone to have some tools in their toolkit that they can use to create momentum in their life like this. And it's been such a blessing for me. And I am so glad that I started this podcast to share it. So if you find value out of this, please do share this with others. I would love for them to hear this as well. I also invite you to check out the 4th song on my album, I Am. This song is called Exhale. This song I will have posted in our community page on kelseymiles.com/thelab. When you go there, I'll have the lyrical video posted there so you can watch it. This is free to subscribe to. So this page on my website is all free. And that's where you can find the community and the discussion forums if you're interested in joining that as well. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's episode of Authenticity Lab. This is a new year. This is the first episode of 2025. And I wanted to offer this specific episode to invite you to work on letting go of things out of your control. We often set New Year's resolutions which add things to our plates, and I encourage you to drop the things that don't serve you. Surprisingly, I think it's less work, actually. It's much less work to drop something than it is to add like a new habit. You'd be surprised about how much more you gain from dropping something that doesn't serve you. Seriously, when you let go of that big boulder or whatever you want to call it, that gremlin, and you let go of it and you exhale, what you get out of it, like the story I shared today, is more than I expected. I did not expect to have this big sense of creativity pour out of me so I feel ready for this blues competition. I didn't expect that. So I really encourage you, find something to let go of this week. This could really serve you in the new year. Thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to see you next week, where I will share a new story and a new life experiment so that you can continue to live boldly, lead with curiosity, and keep being your most amazing authentic selves.
Yeah, that house will always call you.